Welcome to Growing Bremerton Together with Mayor Patty Lent. We're on location today at Harrison Medical Center, downtown Bremerton. I have a special guest. It's the President and Chief Executive Officer, Scott Bosch. Stay with me. Welcome to Growing Bremerton Together with Mayor Patty Lent. We're on location today at the office of the President and Chief Executive Officer of Harrison Medical Center, Scott Bosch. We have lots to learn about him, his life, and where this hospital is going and growing in Bremerton. Welcome.
Thanks, Mayor.
Nice to have you with us. And when I said let's get to know you, I know you grew up in the Midwest.
I did. I grew up in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Yeah.
A little bit about growing up there and your ambitions to be in the medical field.
My grandfather was a physician, and so I observed him as I grew up in the medical field, and I always thought that was very interesting. I did grow up in Kalamazoo, and ended up going to the University of Michigan undergraduate, and ultimately decided that the business side of things rather than the science side of things was better for me. I didn't do well in organic chemistry, so I ended up deciding to pursue a master's degree in healthcare administration and went to Texas to actually get that in San Antonio at Trinity University, and never looked back. It has been a wonderful career. That was in 1977, so 35 years ago, started that career and have enjoyed it ever since. I've worked all over the country in this job, and have found it to be a rewarding one. You're always helping people. We've grown things. We've made differences in people's lives, and so I've always felt blessed that it's been a part of my life.
But I also know that you can take a blood sample.
I did. I worked for a hospital, St. Joseph Medical Center in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I was a phlebotomist, and so I drew blood to get to know hospitals and what it was like to work in hospitals. And so I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning and on weekends drawing small children's blood and adults, and working my way through college.
Good. How did we get so lucky as to have you come to Bremerton and to Harrison Medical Center?
I was between jobs. I was leaving a job in Colorado with a large system called Banner Health, and I was working with a group of recruiters. That's what happens in our field. We work with recruiters, and they were providing me with options literally all over the country. But I had been a part of a larger system, and at that point in my life, that was 8 years ago, amazingly, was looking to come back into a community and with a hospital about the size of Harrison. And this became one of those opportunities. I came, I interviewed, we fell in love with the area. My wife, we came in August though, okay, so we...
The best time to fall in love.
The best time to go, absolutely. And so it just was a perfect fit. I grew up in Michigan, which has a lot of water. If you've ever been back there, the Great Lakes are everywhere, and it's green and lots of water. Then we moved to Colorado, ultimately, which has mountains. And this has both. And we fell in love with the water in Michigan, the Colorado mountains, and here we have both, and so it's been a natural for us, and we love it.
And it's been 8 years. So when you arrived, I recall that you gave your managers a book, and it was called From Good to Great.
Yeah, by Jim Collins.
By Jim Collins. I've actually read the book myself, but how did you feel that that could either entice them or encourage them to step up a level about what they were doing in their own departments and in the hospital?
This is where experience comes in a little bit. I had used that book back at Banner, my previous job. Had come out, and we had used that book to think through. So I was familiar with the topics and the content of the book. I liked it a lot. It was the best business book I'd ever read, and it just seemed to me that as you come into an organization, you have to grab the attention of the leadership. And I wanted to do that in a way that was meaningful. And this book offers advice and philosophy around how to lead, and most organizations, and I looked at Harrison, I said, this is a really good organization, but we're not great. And like most organizations, there's really good reasons. We settle for good instead of trying to get to great. And I wanted to move the organization toward that greatness for our patients' sake, for our community's sake, for our own sake. And so it was the right thing to do.
And after 8 years, do you see parts that have now become just everyday life, or a style of leadership that you're using in the hospital?
Yeah, I think we clearly have moved along the continuum. Are we where we want to be? We're not. And I think that's what Jim Collins would say, is you're never there. It's always a process. If you think you've made it, you've missed the boat. It's a continuous journey. But we have focused on the patient. We have created a culture here that is accountable and empathetic. Those are some of our values. I think when I talk to our patients up on the floors, they say, your staff here treats me as family. And that's been the goal. Are we perfect? We're not. We continue to struggle with the fact we have 2,400 people in this organization, and not everyone gets it just the quite way I'd like them to. But we're continuously trying to strive to improve our reputation within the community, the clinical outcomes that we get, the service that we provide, and the data is there. I mean, as you look at the infection rates that we had a number of years ago, they were cause for concern. We were all over them, and we have now improved to where we have almost no infections in those areas, across the board.
And great data to collect.
Yeah.
I do know one of the things that I like and I cherish about, again, you're in Bremerton, and that's where I represent, so I'm a little selfish. You have a nursing program that you don't just want a nurse to come on board and deal with the patients. That family that you talked about, tell us a little bit about the nursing program and how you have really extended your nurses that work for Harrison.
It's the equivalent to a residency that you might go through. It's an extension of their education. Young nurses come out of either a 2-year program or a 4-year program with a lot of intellectual knowledge, but very little experience, even though they have hands-on experience. It's not like being given the responsibility for 4 or 5 patients on a shift who may be critically ill, okay?
Yes.
This can scare a 22-year-old or a 25-year-old man or woman who's just all of a sudden responsible. And what we found is that many of these young nurses were getting into the real work situation, real life situations, and not liking it. They actually left the profession, and we can't afford that.
No.
With the baby boom population aging, nurses are retiring. We need more nurses coming in, and doctors and other technical people. And so a residency was created. It's a national program. Versant is the name of the curriculum that we use. We purchased this. We have established our Great Nurses for a Great Community campaign, a philanthropic campaign, not about building buildings, but about building people.
Right.
And we've loved that. And so now we have put over 70 young nurses through this. These people are, it's a competitive program from all over the country. We usually have a cohort of between 13 and 18 people. And there are usually 200 or 300 applications for each of these positions, and so we're very blessed. But this is about a 17 to 20 week program where they don't have patients, but they're focused with a mentor to help them get comfortable with nursing, and it has been remarkably effective. I think we've only, out of those 70 people, we've only had 2 people leave over the last three years.
That's a tremendous record.
Yeah.
I do know also that some of the support of that program and the things that you've done to change the look and the feel of the hospital and the medical center is through the foundation. So without Festival of Trees, I know that last year was the last year, but you're going to have some bigger and better things coming.
We are.
And I believe that the outreach that the medical center does, not just for Bremerton, but all the cities, the county, and even extended further than that, there is a support of you and your hospital and medical center that is tremendous, and it shows in those foundational events that take place.
Yes, they do.
So
yes.
something's coming up. June 1st. You can't tell me.
Not a lot out right now, but
it's a
that's
secret,
the date.
but June 1st for the big event that's going to replace that. And as we move into 2013, there has been some time that the hospital, I know you treat patients of every category, and ER is something that draws a lot of your attention, a lot of your doctors and nurses, and yet there many times is no income whatsoever. So during the period of time that you continue to take care of patients and the ER, you have found that you need to grow a little bigger or to do something that's going to help this medical center sustain itself and even be better. So where are we going from here?
Well, it's a great leading question, Mayor. That world of healthcare across the country and across the world is changing so rapidly. It's so expensive. Governments, state, federal, even regional and local governments really can't afford the cost anymore. Private businesses can't afford the cost of healthcare insurance for their employees, which is why we had the Affordable Care Act enacted by at the federal level.
Correct.
And now with the elections over, we know that with Obama,
with the relief,
this will continue on. And so the intent of that program is to ensure many millions of more Americans and hundreds of thousands of people here in the state of Washington. All that's good, but it does signal, I think, that the way in which we take care of people, the way in which health care is financed, has to change.
Yes.
Okay. So, if you look at Harrison, a very large organization, we employ 2,400 people. You know, we have hundreds of millions of dollars of
You are
revenue.
the #1 private employer in Kitsap County, and so we thank you for that. But as you continue with keeping it sustainable,
are we big enough to play in the arenas where an influx of new capital is going to be necessary, where the influx of new ideas and concepts are going to be necessary? Yes, I think we could, but our board took a year almost to look at the options and to say, although we can remain independent, probably the best thing for us to do is to affiliate with a larger system, because it does begin to answer the question around access to capital, access to quality, access to information technology, access to service, regional planning rather than infighting. I mean, there's just so many things that they found. So, as we announced just fairly recently, the decision was made to affiliate with the Franciscan Health System based in Tacoma. They're a part of a much larger system called Catholic Health Initiatives based in Denver. But you know, they are unto themselves a very active and very successful healthcare system, and we thought that they were culturally similar to us. Their values were similar to us. The fact that they're faith-based is we view it as a good thing, although, as I'll explain to you, the structure that we're envisioning will show Harrison remaining Harrison Medical Center, a private, nonprofit, charitable, secular organization, not a part of the Catholic Church. Okay, that the systems have devised these corporate structures that allow this to happen, and so this really signals, I think, our board's realization that if we take a 50-year view, this is the right thing to do. If we took a 5-year view, you know, it's probably 6 of one, half a dozen of another. It doesn't really matter. But in the longer term, now is the time, while we're strong, while we have strength to negotiate a very good deal. This deal will result in the Franciscans and their parent company investing many millions of dollars into this, in the infrastructure into Kitsap County. Okay.
When I look back at in fact, just a year ago, they saw a need in Kitsap County. They saw that we have an aging population. We are a great place for retirement. And many of our naval officers and people that are here with our Navy find that they want to return to Kitsap and to Bremerton for the retirement. So I know that Franciscan was looking at, well, let's do some home health. Let's come in. And I thought at the time, you're very strong there. And I know many people that have used that service, and I thought they're just diluting what we already have. So when they were one of the people being examined, and as you studied where you wanted to go, I thought how perfect for them, looking our direction, how perfect for us to have that infusion. Because you've talked about diabetes and having a center where you can really do more diagnosis or more database collection and do things that will really help the people in a larger community. I see great things that you'll be able to do with this affiliation. When does it happen? And again, you've got a little more things to tell our audience what it means, because you talk about a different value system, even though you do practice many of the same things that they do in their hospital.
There will be differences, and there will be changes. Certainly there will be a change of control. So let me try to lay out the time frame and a little bit about the governance that's going forward, a little bit about the Catholic health, ethical and religious directives that are coming into play, perhaps women health issues. I can touch on all those, but in a nutshell, we've signed a non-binding letter of intent. We are in the process now of negotiating what's called a definitive agreement. It's the deal, okay? And that could take until March. So we've got the holidays in front of us, and so we have to give ourselves some time. But a definitive agreement would be legally binding when that is signed. That definitive agreement, however, still needs to be reviewed by the federal government, the Federal Trade Commission in particular, and in the state, the Attorney General's office.
Correct.
So once we create the deal, we give it to these regulatory agencies, and they evaluate whether or not it is what we're proposing is legal and appropriate. We think it is. We've already done preliminary work, and we don't think there's a lot of trouble there, but we have to go through the process. So that will take a few months, and so at this point we look, if all goes well, for us to have the deal finalized or closed around the 1st of July. That's timely because their fiscal year is July 1 through June 30th.
Oh, perfect timing.
And that's perfect for us as well. So there are many good reasons for that to happen. So that's kind of the timeline and what will happen. When that all is consummated, the Franciscan Health System will become the parent company of Harrison Medical Center.
Correct.
With some reserve powers, the ability to appoint the CEO with the approval of the local board, obviously the sale of assets and those kind of things, fairly high-level reserve powers. The local board, which exists today, okay, will stay on because Harrison is remaining Harrison. Our corporate structure remains the same. We remain. Our name remains the same. Correct. We're not going to become Saint Harrison or anything like that. Okay, there's a lot of jokes going around, but
I'm sure.
Yeah. So the board will place 2 of its members on the Franciscan board, and 2 of the Franciscan board members will be on our board here, leading to shared governance. I've been asked to stay on at this point. They haven't gotten to know me very well, but I guess to stay on as the CEO for Harrison, with some level of responsibility for helping to oversee St. Anthony's Hospital in Gig Harbor, which makes a lot of sense to create a sort of a bridge-to-bridge kind of region for us to plan healthcare delivery systems going forward in the future. So that's very exciting. And so that's the corporate structure that's envisioned in the governance. And again, the reason we're at the table with them is that this all made a lot of sense to our board. It was collaborative. It was positive. It kept a lot of our own identity here, but it linked us into then the strength of a larger system. For example, they're migrating to a new electronic medical record. We have one now, but it's not fully implemented. The one they're going to is called Epic, and so one of the obligations is at their expense, they will be implementing the full Epic system here into our hospital and all of our physician offices. So you know, that means that a patient who comes here but then ends up in Tacoma at St. Joe's, their records flow. Or ultimately, and I should mention this now probably because it gets a little complex, so bear with me, okay?
It's okay, but I'm following.
The Franciscans' parent company, Catholic Health Initiatives, at the same time as we're joining the Franciscans are going to be joining a new company that's going to be managed by Peace Health, which is another large Catholic system in this region. When that happens, this region, there's a system of hospitals we'll have, which will be Pacific Northwest oriented, Oregon, Washington, and Alaska, okay? 18 hospitals in 18 different communities, 26,000 employees, thousands of physicians on the same electronic medical record platform, Epic. So no matter where you go within our system, the information flows with you.
The reason this makes sense is because of what you started to say earlier. Our affordability of health care and the systems, there's no way that Harrison Medical Center could have the expanse of this or the sophistication of the system. So
we can come close, but we'll never get to that good to great. We'll stay as very good, but I'm not sure we can ever get to great without the resources and quite say the lack of duplication. We're spending a lot of time duplicating things that they do or other systems do now. It's a waste of time and money.
It is.
And so this takes that a bit off the plate, and we're feeling really very good about it. So, if I could mention just the Catholicness of this, because that may be
people will wonder.
They will, right? As I mentioned, we'll remain a secular organization, non-Catholic, but we will be asked to observe what they call their ethical and religious directives, of which we already do. The 2 most important ones are abortions and death with dignity. We don't do abortions, nor do we allow death with dignity drugs to be given in the hospital. Okay, those things can be done elsewhere.
At other clinics.
And so those are the biggies. Other women's health issues like tubal ligations, other contraceptive methods
Sure.
are allowed under certain conditions within the Franciscans, and under Peace Health there is a broader level of ability to.
So you have that flexibility within that large organization.
And we're negotiating that very carefully right now with them. So I think at the end of the day, the women's health issues are not going to be an issue, nor us being a part of a Catholic organization will be. We have a spiritual care organization already within the hospital that will continue on. And it will grow probably because we believe the spiritual side of things is important, as do the Franciscans. So.
And we've learned just over the years, and for medicine, that I know that our pastor from my church comes in and visits some of our patients that are here. So that's just part of daily life.
It has to be.
It has to be.
Yeah.
One thing that, two more things, but one thing that's interesting to our citizens and Silverdale, you're in the throngs of building this new pediatric?
No, it's an orthopedic.
Orthopedic.
Center. Yes.
But it's an agreement you have with orthopedic surgeons that they want to affiliate with Harrison.
We've asked them to manage it.
And you'll be managing it. So I would think that is just a bonus for Franciscan, because you're doing things other hospitals and medical centers aren't doing. And with that out-of-the-box thinking, they're getting some creativity and some new thought process, which is exciting.
They've said all along that they hope to learn as much from us as we will learn from them.
That's great.
And not just from them, but when I think about the whole Peace Health organization, how much we can learn and how much they can learn from us. This creates many more options than it uses up. You know, it uses up a few options, and we're no longer totally in control of our destiny here. Because we give up that level of control, we are this huge window of opportunity opens up, and I'm just so excited about this and the chance to move us further forward faster.
And I'm excited that, again, the infusion, they have the financial backing. So the things that you've thought about that you want to create and continue, you're going to have that financial backing.
Yeah, contractually
obligated. Because of the timeline for next year, you're just coming off of being the president of the Washington State Hospital Association.
Chairman, actually, of the board.
I said that, chairman.
Yes.
But not only that, but you also chaired a big division of the American Heart Association. They had a 5K.
Heart Walk.
The Heart Walk, and I was part of that.
Yes, you were. Thank you so much for that. You got the city very involved, and I appreciate that. I did,
but the nicest thing is that we have never been that involved with the East Side. And people on the East Side, I have found, have always looked east. They look at Bellevue and Kirkland.
Silly them.
Yes. With what you did, because you chaired this entire event, and you came in fourth of all corporations that raised funds for American Heart, $40,000 plus.
Yeah.
We had over 300 walkers.
We did.
And now people on the east side are looking to the west.
They are.
So I want to thank you for that, because you've set a footprint that Kitsap County and, of course, Bremerton is expanding. Our sphere of influence now has a wider range. It's broader. That was very successful. We want to be the first actually county that's going to have all of our cities involved next year.
All right.
That releases you from this obligation to really concentrate on what's happening with the affiliation. And
I'm glad that both of those things, both the chairmanship of the State Hospital Association and the Heart Walk chair, kind of ended within a 2-week period back in October, and it was kind of like one of those.
You were busy.
You know, it was a busy time, and the affiliation was all coming out at the same time, and so, yeah, I'm glad that they were very successful, both of them, and you know, it's the same water, same trees, same air, you know, that we share with this whole region, the Puget Sound region, and it's kind of the artificial lines we draw, to me, are irrelevant and not necessarily in our best interest. And so I said, yeah, I'll be glad to go across the water and do this, because I think that we do have a lot to offer here, and so it was great, and I do appreciate your support.
Thank you on that. I always think that the division or the ferry ride or Puget Sound is not, it doesn't divide us, it connects us.
It does.
And because Harrison Medical Center has the greatest heart and vascular area right in downtown Bremerton, that's something that St. Francis has to be a little bit envious of.
Clearly they thought we were a good match.
You are a good match. The Heart Walk, the Heart and Vascular, what you have here, the growth that's taking place. I want to thank you for your leadership, for making this happen and bringing even better and exciting things to the city of Bremerton.
Well, you've been a wonderful partner, Mayor, as the city has, and as the county has. You know, we have really enjoyed being a part of Kitsap County, and Bremerton's been our home. We're staying here in a big way, although we'll be diversifying. That's going to happen over time, but our commitment to Bremerton is solid and long-standing, and we look forward to continuing our great relationship.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting this, this portion of Growing Bremerton Together with Mayor Patty Lent. We'll see you next time.
Take care.